the also it's undeniably oily and slimy. Yet anyone's lying to you if they say escargot is not slimy. Like it's definitely slimy. So like the texture is what I could see like a lot of people not liking about it. The flavor of it is really good. Like especially if you like salty things. It's like that fry level of salty. It's really good.
I'm not a big seafood guy, but I've had like clams and oysters before, and lobster is really fucking good. But I mean, nobody can freaking afford that shit.
No, well, not when gas is going up like 7 times in price, but we don't talk about that because
right.
there's no problems. Prices are not rising. Everything's normal. It's okay.
Yeah. It's all Putin's fault. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like Joe, I'm sure you're a good guy. I mean, you're like 90 years old. You probably should retire. But I'm just gonna say, the shit was going on long before the Ukraine nonsense. But I'm just gonna whatever.
Oh, well, I mean, the hilarious thing is we're gonna blame something that has nothing to do with us here on the economic thing, and no one's talking about the fact that we just printed like 40% of our money like for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, man.
And his response was, "Hey, let's print some more money."
Hey, oh, level of stupidity. Like
that's just, not the way economics works. Like I really appreciated that, you know, whatever it ended up being like $4,000 or whatever they said. Like that was really nice, but now we're kind of reaping the benefits of that.
Well, I mean, like the funny thing is like it's weird. Like it's weird that we seem to be like having our major, like the major people in power are also the same types of people who never paid attention in like high school economics class. Like they were just, they either like didn't pay attention or they just never had it. Cause I'm not I'm not super smart with economics at all, but I'm pretty sure that no matter how you go about doing it, printing more money destabilizes the money. Just it kind of makes sense.
Like I understand why they did it. Like I understand, and it was probably a good idea at the time to give people money while nobody was able to work because of a pandemic. But you got to be honest about it now. You know what I mean? And work to fix it now. Instead of rah, everything's okay. We're working on it. We're working really hard on it. Like, no, just be honest about it. And we're going to get through this. It's, you know, you don't go into a tornado disaster zone and say, yeah, everything's perfectly fine. That wasn't an F5 that just whirred through. It was just a stiff breeze, you know?
Stiff breeze.
He just, it's just so fucking stupid. Like, why can't, we are, I should just say this, we are live, by the way. Nice. I just want to put that out there before we say something we don't want to say, but it's like, why can't we get a good president? Like, there has to be at least one out there, right? I mean, we've just gone through a series of, I mean...
I don't think it's a controversial statement to say if you live in the U.S., it's kind of upsetting to have somebody who is genuinely not mentally fit to run a country. Like,
and we've had 2 of them in a row.
I know.
like usually, like we've had bad presidents before, but usually they're like one-offs, you know? They just show up for 4 years. You know, one of them died in office, you know?
Yeah.
Because he didn't wear coats.
Now we've had like bad, but just like different versions of bad.
Yeah, on opposite spectrums.
Like completely in different ends of the spectrum.
It's so fucking stupid. Like, makes like you say you want to move to Canada, but Canada is not much better anymore.
Oh no.
Like, no, you can't escape idiocy. Anyways, it doesn't matter. That's about as much politics as we're ever going to talk on the podcast. So if you're tuning in, don't worry about it. We're not going to make it about that. If we could get some yays or nays in the chat on whether or not the audio is good, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, just let me know how bad my audio is.
Surprisingly, your limps, Yeah.
A lip.
Your lip. Well, surprising, your lips are and your audio are in sync. Last night on your stream, I was shouting, "Hey, if BSD is so damn good, why can't the audio be in sync?"
Well, funny enough, I figured out why.
Oh, did you?
So the Brio works just fine here, and that's what I was using as my webcam. But the Brio has this weird issue where no matter what, getting audio in sync with it is more difficult. Because when I first started using it, it seemed like it fixed the like audio being out of sync just by itself. But it turns out whenever I live stream using the Brio, the audio is just like it's just way out of sync, like way out of sync. No idea why. It could also be something to do with Jitsi too, but we won't talk about that, okay? Because Jitsi's great.
The hilarious thing is we just talked about how good it was, and then you froze on screen. That's so good. That's fantastic.
Here goes Discord.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching live, just know that if the stream goes away, it's because I lost power. There's about 30-mile-an-hour wind out there, and there are branches and shit flying around. So if I lose power and it doesn't come back, the podcast will just be over, unfortunately. So we're going to try to get through this, and hopefully electricity stays here. But anyways, we're going to go ahead, I think, and get started. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and bullshit about politics for ages.
Which is hilarious, because I don't think me and you have, like, this would be probably our first time ever talking even remotely about politics.
I can't stand talking about politics with anyone, and it doesn't matter whether or not they agree or disagree with me, because most of the time, I couldn't fucking give a shit.
You know? Well, see, here's the thing. I can talk about politics as long as you don't care. I might have an opinion, but I don't care. Like, well,
people get so attached to everything. Like, I'm sorry, but for the most part, what the president does doesn't affect people in their day-to-day lives, and the things that he does, and the Congress does that do affect you is so, minuscule for the most part. You can't let your hatred for whoever's in office rule your life. You have to move on and do your daily shit. There's the thing of you might have an opinion, but can't do anything about it. So who cares? Like, well, then the shit has been broken for ages. Like, every generation bitches about how politicians are horrible.
Yeah, there's never been one government where people go, "Oh, it's perfect."
It's a stereotype for a fucking reason.
Exactly.
like that's the way it works. The problem with having a really big freaking water bottle is that it has a tendency to spill all over your shirt, which is hilarious. Exactly what you want to do before you do a video podcast.
The funny thing is, I was just looking at the show notes, and for some reason I read what you put in the show notes for what you've been doing this week. I read that as like what I wrote. And so I was very confused for a split second, because I went, wait, hold on. I didn't realize switched. Like, then it hit me. I'm like, oh my God, dude, you need to get you need to stop drinking and definitely not have that happen again last night. Because I genuinely thought, I was like, wait, why did I write that?
Yeah. That's funny. Gene, yeah, we'll stop talking about politics now. I'm sorry. Probably scared like half of the people away. Oh, they're just going to talk about politics the whole time. This is the Linux cast. I'm not here to talk about listen to politics. If I want to do that, listen to CNN. I don't know why I went all redneck there at the end. Now I've offended everybody below the Mason-Dixon line.
I am a redneck, and I don't know about redneck. I don't go hunting with my cousins in camo on the weekend. I have the opportunity, so I mean, I might as well be considered a redneck. I mean, all it takes is me accepting my cousin's offers, and then I am redneck. I don't think the redneck accent is like a bad thing at all.
Oh, I
I
don't.
think it's actually kind of funny.
Oh, I think a lot of them are hilarious. But I don't judge people based on their accents because apparently I have an accent, but I don't really realize it. But I just think I sound normal. Like
I think you do too.
Like I said, I'm from Michigan. We don't have like we don't have the Boston. We're not New Yorkers, you know. We don't say y'all all the time. We're like the most boring accent in the world. We sound normal. like we sound white.
I love the Boston accent, man. It's so funny.
It's Boston accent. Yeah,
I can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm
I can't
so bad.
do it either. You got to get the Irish in there, but you got to. It's also something. It's. I don't know. I can't do accents. You don't want to. There goes the friggin' lights again.
Uh-oh.
Stop that.
Oh,
it was just
nervous.
It was just a flash. So hopefully the internet stays. All right, let's get started on this. See if we can actually get some of the podcasts in before this actually dies. Okay, you got the Audacity thing up, going, ready to
go? Hold on. No, I do not. Okay, now I do.
Okay. I
had it loaded up, and apparently I loaded up a different program called. I've loaded up on a different workspace, and I opened up like what is it, Audor or whatever? I don't know. Something that's not Audacity. Oh, it's Audio CTL. I tried opening that. That's a terminal program. It won't.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the record button in Audacity. Record button in OBS, and you can do the claps whenever you like.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
So much better with video. That one we wouldn't have video. I'm just going to keep remembering how bad that was. All right.
Oh, trust me, TFL sent me his audio without video, and I was like, woo, it's not easy.
Like, I don't know. I don't remember how I did it so much with Martin.
It's a lot of practice and time.
I think I didn't care as much, you know, because we didn't do any video at all. Like, neither one of us had videos, so you know, who cares if you couldn't say the limps? The limps. What the fuck is wrong with me? I had a stroke or something.
Lips as a word is just off limits for you today.
It's lips, Matt. Lips. These things. These flubbery things on your face. Good Lord, this is gonna be. If we get through this podcast without the lights going off, it's gonna be one for the memories. Because I'm having word association problems. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to LinuxCast. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Tyler.
Yes, he is. And this is the LinuxCast. We talk about Linuxy things. Now, one thing that you should know before we get started too far into this thing is that we're having very high winds outside my house. Probably better than having high winds inside the house, but not that much better. Anyways, the lights have dimmed, so if you notice the podcast just ends, it's a short podcast because there's no more electricity, and unfortunately, I don't have like a backup generator or anything like that. And even if I did, the internet won't work, right? So, anyways, just FYI, if that happens, I'm knocking on some wood, but they've already dimmed once more since we started, talking. Anyways, so Tyler, my friend, my bud, what have you been doing on Linux this week?
Well, since it has to be what I've been doing in Linux, I did try Fedora this week. And by try Fedora, I mean when I was having all my, for anybody who watches my channel, I talked about how I was having some issues with OpenBSD and it properly utilizing my motherboard and headers and stuff. And so when I was having all those issues, I loaded into Fedora for like 5 minutes and checked to make sure everything was working fine, and it was. But also, I'm not keen on using Fedora. Like, I don't have any problems with Fedora at all, but going back to GNOME or just Fedora in general, oh man, love OpenBSD. Love it. But that's what I did in Linux this week.
I'm happy that you've discovered a home in BSD. I'm sad that it's not Linux, because it makes me sad, because it feels like you're abandoning the brotherhood.
I have not left the hood yet. Okay, I still come home. All right, I'm still in the hood occasionally, but I leave.
You're the college student that only comes home because mom still does his laundry. You're home just long enough for the load to finish, and then you're back off to wherever you need to go.
I love that analogy. Just going home for the laundry.
Okay. Anyone who's ever lived on campus, like in a university, I guarantee every single person has done that has the opportunity to do so. Like, like first of all, doing your own laundry in a college dorm just fucking sucks. It's not so bad, because you have got to stay there and watch the thing. Otherwise, you come back, your clothes are either gone or they're spread all over the place because somebody's a douchebag. Like, it's just always gonna happen. All right. I have a proposition for you in terms of change to the podcast. Normally we would talk about this off the air, but instead of saying what have you been up to in Linux this week, let's just say what have you been up to in Unix this week. And the girl from Jurassic Park can be our mascot. Oh, it's Unix. I know this.
I have had that posted so much. So much.
It was funny when it came out. Like, it was funny when it happened. And now it's still funny. Like, no. Okay, so for me, that way what I'm doing now can also be considered, Linux. But so a few months ago, I talked about how I was switching away from Android to iOS. It's something I do every 2 or 3 years, and just so I can kind of keep up on, how good each of the platforms are. And I didn't make it 2 or 3 years this time because iOS is just, it has some good points. Like, the applications on iOS are, for the most part, better than on Android. Better designed, better functioning. For the most part, it feels that way. Outside of that, though, God, notifications are so bad on iOS. They're just so bad. Like, I can't even explain how bad iOS notifications are. They do have like actionable notifications now, which is something that they've obviously had for a while, but they're only actionable when they pop up. So once they disappear into your notification shade, you can no longer do anything with them other than dismiss them. And they have this weird like bifurcation of recentness on their in their notifications shades. So some of them are below a cut where you can delete all of them, like you can dismiss all of them. Some of them are above the cut where you have to delete them one by one. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. When I have 400 notifications, I just want to get rid of them all. I don't give a shit what's in there. Like, it could be death notifications. It could be Amber Alerts. I don't care. Just get rid of it. There's too many of them to go through. It doesn't matter. I don't want to know any of this stuff. Just get rid of them.
Look, that's something none of us would, I don't think would say with that much confidence, but we all know that we all agree. Like, if you've had an Amber Alert, just no one cares. Just piss off. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to see the gray sedan. I'm
First of all, if it's an Amber Alert, you've heard that thing sound off. We've already heard it. Like, I looked at it already. Second of all, if it's a death notification and you text message me that somebody died, what the
yeah, just fuck you. Come on, man.
Like, oh, Auntie's dead. Oh no. LOL. I mean, what the fuck? It's
Give me a call.
What like, that's this generation for you. It's probably gonna have emojis. Like, it's a little skull emoji. God.
No. I don't want to live in a world where people like a close relative die and you get a notification with an emoji in it. Like, come on, no.
Like it's just like God. So, anyways, the notification that went. I don't even know where that
Way
went. Anyways, the notifications in iOS are just really bad, and there's a few things that were just driving me nuts with the iPhone. Now, one thing I will say is that the iPhone hardware is fantastic. Like Apple, if we could put Android on the iPhone, that'd be spectacular because the hardware is really, really good. But anyways, I ended up switching back to Android. I ended up with a used Galaxy S21. And yeah, Android is so much better in terms of like notifications and stuff. There are a few applications.
So did you sell your iPhone?
No, it's still right here.
Okay.
No.
So you're keeping it.
Because I know eventually I'm going to have the urge to switch back to iOS again, just to see if it got better. If I keep this, I can just put my SIM card in it and say, hey, it still sucks. Going back to Android, you know? And honestly, I had that plan originally, but I had two Android phones. I had the OnePlus 6 and OnePlus 7T, but I ended up giving them to my mom and dad because their iPhones went to shit. So I couldn't just put my SIM card back in the Android phones that I had, so I ended up having to buy a new one. But this time...
So you mean to say that you had people that you know that have iPhones that aged and bit the dust?
Yeah. Like there like iPhone 6s or whatever, and like my dad keeps really good care of his phone, and it's like whatever. I mean, he drops it every once in a while, but like a normal person. My mother, she does not keep good care of her phones at all. I mean, she has really I mean, obviously nobody cares about this, but she has like really dry skin, so she's always using like hand cream. And when you use like hand cream on like one of those phones, it gets gunky. She never cleans it, so it's really bad. And the iPhone 6 and 6S or whatever were not water resistant whatsoever, so that stuff was all over the place. It was not good. And you used it for a while, and I got like felt like it was gonna catch on fire. So it was time for something new.
It's probably like cocoa butter, just like all up in that phone.
Yeah, it was not good. Anyway, so yeah, I've switched back to Android, and I'm happy again. So moving on to the contact information. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you could do so at I don't even know what I'm talking about. I really need to go through and redo this because this is obviously in totally the wrong order. You can contact us via pretty much everything at thelinuxcast.org/contact. Thelinuxcast.org is the website where you'll find blog posts that I never update. You can find links to our most recent episodes, which is like 2 or 3 episodes behind because I have not been updating it because, God, I forget. Work. Yeah, I can't even blame laziness on this. I just forget about it. But anyways, I'll try to keep that updated better. Anyways, you can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/linuxcast. You can subscribe to Tyler on YouTube, who goes by Zany, at youtube.com/ZanyOG. You got called out on DistroTube yesterday, so did you get a few new subscribers?
I did.
Cool.
Yeah, and we also have quite a few people who have now joined the IRC, even though I'm not in there right now. Because again, someone had some crashes happen right before I started live streaming last night, and then polished off like almost an entire jar of moonshine. So kinda didn't do anything this morning. Like maybe try to not really get out of bed until like 20 minutes before the podcast was even supposed to happen. It was a rough morning to say the least.
Maybe just a half a jar of moonshine next time.
Hopefully less.
Anyways, you can subscribe to the Linuxcast at youtube.com/the-linuxcast. As you can tell, we are not very interested in staying on topic today. Just gonna put that out there, but it's okay. If you've listened to the podcast before, you'll know that this is not a new phenomenon. This is something that goes on quite often. Anyway, so Tyler, every single week we scour the internet for breaking news.
We do.
And this is the only place in the world that you'll ever see this news. It's very timely, and it's definitely not, I mean, it's definitely relevant. I can't even fucking talk. You don't. I was gonna go for a lead in. It didn't. It doesn't matter. Tyler, your news. What the fuck is your news?
Look, so I have scoured the internet. I have found the most delicious, the most juicy, the most secretive information. So, did you know that Linux Mint is going to be based off of Ubuntu for the next release?
Man, shocker.
Same. I actually believe that I read, so the title of this article is Linux Mint 21 Vanessa will be based on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS, new upgrade tool in the works. I did not read past the Ubuntu part. Like I didn't read the 22.04 and all the rest of the title. And I just read it as that. And I was like, what? Duh. Who wrote this article?
Exclusive.
And then exactly. Like, oh, wow, shocker. But they are, so Linux Mint is working on a upgrade tool that I thought they already had a decent upgrade tool, but apparently they are trying to like make a much more full-featured graphical version. So it's going to be they're going to have in this upgrade tool localization in various languages. They're going to do some adding of the ability to perform more checks to ensure the upgrade process goes smoothly,
specifically with PPAs and stuff like that. So yeah.
Makes sense. And then they also want to preserve the user's choice of mirrors, which I like. That's actually solid. Now, granted, this is something that I will say with Linux Mint, and I definitely want to talk about this with you, Matt. Is it insane of me to think that isn't there already like pretty good upgrade tools for Ubuntu? In like Linux Mint?
Okay, so I don't know about Ubuntu because Ubuntu, I just have always used the terminal. But for Linux Mint, they do have an upgrade tool, but I don't know what it looks like. I'm pretty sure that it's also in the terminal. I think that's the reason why they're doing a GUI now.
Gotcha.
Also, it's pretty bare bones from what I remember. Now you gotta remember, not the biggest Linux Mint person in the world, so obviously I've never stuck around on Ubuntu long enough to actually, or Linux Mint long enough to actually have to do this, but I know people who have, and their experience has been mostly basically the same as it used to be on Ubuntu. But the point is that this one here, one of the things that you experience on all Ubuntu-based distros when you use PPAs is that those PPAs are signed for specific versions of Ubuntu. So if it's not for Groovy Gorilla and you're on Groovy Gorilla, you know, it won't work, right? None of your software will be able to be updated. The PPAs will be broken. That's one of the reasons why the PPAs suck, right? Is because they're attached to that version of Ubuntu. And I use Groovy Gorilla because that's the only Ubuntu name that I can pronounce.
Yeah. And I was about, and that's why I was laughing when you said it. Cause I'm like, God, like just you say Ubuntu, like names just out of context and just like, what are you talking about, man?
Nobody knows what the word her sweet means. Okay. If that's even how you pronounce her sweet hippo.
Yeah.
I don't know what the one for 22.04 is going to be, but I'm assuming it's going to be really bad. But I mean, that's a safe bet. That's kind of their thing, is to choose really bad names. That's the reason why I loved Groovy Gorilla, because Groovy Gorilla was a freaking good name, you know.
Yeah, you could say it.
It was even well, I was gonna say they even had a good wallpaper, but no, that wasn't a good wallpaper. That was the Hairy Balls one. I mean, it's true. Everybody looked at it like, "Oh, those are hairy balls." I mean. But,
game over.
It's just true.
I envy the person who just came into the stream and all they heard was Matt just go hairy balls.
Well, it's better than the way the stream started out when we were talking about politics. I mean, basically they're equivalents: hairy balls, politics, same thing. All right. Anyways, honestly, I'm quite happy for this upgrade tool, but I'm also happy that it's coming to LMDE first. So it's going to be coming to, they're going to roll it out to LMD4 so you can upgrade to LMD5. And I'm going to say this because I always say this when we talk about Linux Mint. Linux Mint, please just get rid of Ubuntu. Just do the Debian thing. It'd make everybody really happy. Just, you don't need Ubuntu. Nobody needs Ubuntu anymore, okay?
Well, see, nowadays, like, Canonical's not making decisions that's in the best interest of anyone that's basing off of them. Like, if you're Canonical, sure, like, yeah, you're making decisions that benefit Canonical, but no one really wants snaps out of the box. Like, you might want a snap, but you don't, like, no one's really excited. Oh, yay, my distro supports snap out of the box. Yes. Like, no, I don't think anyone wants that. At least personally, I don't think many people are trying to jump and trip over, like, trying to get to snaps.
Okay, here is the workflow between Debian, Ubuntu, and Linux Mint. So Debian creates their thing. They've always created it. It's been around for 30 years. Okay, 31 years, whatever. It's been around for a long time. Ubuntu takes Debian, makes Ubuntu, puts snaps in it, does all their stuff to it. Linux Mint takes Ubuntu, takes all the stuff that Linux Mint or that Ubuntu has done to it, makes it Debian again, calls it Ubuntu, and basically what they're doing is Debian anyways, but they call it Ubuntu. I mean, I know that it's more complicated than that because they obviously have like some Ubuntu repos and stuff like that, but they've pulled out the only thing that has made Ubuntu, which is snaps. They've pulled it out. It's gone. Like, you can't even, like, if you try to install snaps on Linux Mint, they tell you, hey, don't do that. Yeah.
I respect that.
Like, what I want them to do is say, are you a fucking...
Of course. Buddy.
That was the greatest beep ever. I was just about to swear and it was like... That's great. Anyways, I don't want to bitch about Linux Mint too much longer. Let's go ahead and move on to mine. Let's bitch about Fedora. Buddy. Come here, buddy.
Our mailman's here. The dreaded mailman.
Your dog would chase after the mailman. My dog would chase after cars.
Oh, gosh.
She does not like white cars, like, at all. Like, she'll ignore every color car except for a white car or whitish car, and everyone she's like, oh, ooh. Like, I don't understand. It's really weird. Anyways,
that's the one that worries me, like when they would chase after cars, because I'm like, oh, don't leave. Because the mailman's only going to go so far. He's got to stop.
Like, he's just going next door. Like, I can catch him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My news of the week is so Fedora is planning on introducing a new package manager. Kind of. It's more of a minimal version of DNF. And the things that it will do are going to improve reliability. It's going to have better bash completions and better progress reporting, and improve transaction tables and stuff like that. So it's honestly kind of interesting because one of the things about Fedora that I've always kind of noticed is that DNF is kind of slow. Like, it's not zipper slow. Like, it's not like, because zipper's pretty damn slow, but DNF is definitely one of the slower package managers out there. It's one of the things that you just notice. Now, you can obviously make it faster with parallel downloads and stuff like that, but out of the box, it's just kind of slow. So this is kind of very interesting to me because I've been spending a lot more time in Fedora lately. I've been doing more videos and stuff on it, and Fedora's just, I mean, I bitch about Wayland and Pipewire all the time, but Fedora is still kind of good. And
that's kind of like where you want to go to experience those things. Like, if you want Wayland, and if you want to have a good likelihood of having a good experience with Wayland and Pipewire when you try it, try Fedora, because that's where it's going to be the best. It just will be.
I'm honestly quite sick of every Linux YouTuber saying that Fedora is the new Ubuntu. but it's kind of true. Like Ubuntu used to be like the innovator. Like they're always bringing new stuff to Linux, having new ideas. Now Ubuntu feels like they're chasing GNOME. You know, literally that's all they're doing is they're just trying desperately to get to the brand new GNOME every year, and that's all they do. They don't have like they used to have a competitor to Wayland called Mirror. It's still alive, but nobody uses it. You know, so they don't come up with any new ideas, but it doesn't really matter. But the point of the going back on the topic again, Jesus Matt.
I don't help.
It's okay. At this point, it doesn't matter. Like if we stayed on topic, the podcast would be like 5 minutes long.
Exactly.
The tangents are half the fun. Anyways, the micro DNF package manager, which probably will come out. They're probably going to be testing it. They're saying it's going to be next year with Fedora 38. I don't know how they're going to get to Fedora 38 by next year when they're just coming up with 36. I don't know what. Usually it's like one a year, I thought, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyways, sometime in the next couple releases, they're going to be doing this micro DNF thing, and that's, like I said, it's kind of interesting for me.
Yeah, which I think it will be interesting. Also, I don't know that I really don't think that it's. Are they saying like next year? Could they mean by the like it being the end of next year? Because that would make more sense. Because I don't, just like you were saying with the versions, I don't keep up with Fedora that much, but it doesn't seem like their version numbers go up like every 6 months. Like I don't think
no,
they do.
I'm pretty sure it's just once a year. So I'm pretty sure 35 came out around this time last year. 36 is coming out in a few days, and
someone said in chat it is every 6 months.
It is every 6 months. Then why are they only at 38 or 36? If it's every 6 months,
Actually, yeah.
I mean, those numbers would be going up a little bit faster. April and October is what Peter says. So, yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was just once a year. Cool. So 38 will be next April, is what he said.
To learn something new every day.
Like I said, it makes me wonder why the numbers haven't gone up faster. Because my guess is that they've changed the numbering scheme. Then they've had to have changed the numbering scheme because at one point, then maybe they started over. I don't know. They get to version 7, like screw this, we're going back to 1. All right, moving on to the main topic because we need to move this thing along just because we can. Do we have the right to repair? Now I think this was my topic. I don't actually remember who put this in the thing. I thought it was mine, but maybe because it was yours and I thought it was a good topic, I decided to steal it. I don't remember. It's possible. Anyway, so the question we have this week is, do we have the right to repair our own hardware? Because one of the things that seems to be of a debate recently is, do you really own your hardware? Do you have the ability to repair it and all that stuff? So Tyler, what is your answer to this question?
Well, it's kind of a nuanced question because obviously you have the right to repair some things, like most things, especially about a rebuilt or a desktop computer that you build, especially if you build it yourself. I mean, you can repair a lot. But like when it comes to the right to repair argument, I think it has to do with more of trying to keep companies from taking active steps to have bad or at the very least malicious business tactics to try and monetize repairing your computer. Kind of the thing is like when people talk about right to repair, a lot of the times what you mean is okay, we need to essentially have it set up so that you have the right to have free and open access to the information to repair your stuff instead of having to pay for the right to be able to at least know how to fix something. And that's a hard one. Like we live in a world that is fueled by money, and companies don't give two shits about the end user at all. It doesn't matter how much the business strokes your ego and says that they love you. They don't. They love your wallet. And let's be honest, if you're for profit, like that's your main focus, it makes sense to charge somebody for the information on how to fix something. I'm pretty sure if there wasn't laws around it, motherboard manufacturers would charge you for the right to download the manual. Like, I'm sure they would do that. And I think that's kind of the thing with a lot of stuff, like specs. I mean, Apple's the most egregious one here. Like, they're terrible with it. But hopefully we don't end up in a world where every manufacturer is trying to stop like hardware specs and just information about their hardware from being freely and openly available. Because it hurts a lot of people when you charge for just basic information. Like a lot of the times, especially building a desktop computer, there is a lot of money saved in not paying someone to fix it or not paying someone to just do it for you. And I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing to try and monetize the hell out of basic info on repairing your computer. But I think we have the right to repair right now. I just think there's an active movement to take it away. That's for sure.
I think the question is more interesting when we talk about like cell phones and laptops, because with the desktop, you're right. The right to repair there is there, and while there's probably some discussion on how to make it, like easier for the motherboard manufacturers to sell you more motherboards that you can't, like there's a reason why Intel comes out with a new socket every time they come out with a new chip, because they want you to buy a new motherboard. That's why the whole AM4 thing for AMD was so shocking, was because they said, hey, we're going to create motherboards, or we're going to create chips that will be available for this socket for 4 generations. And everybody's like, well, that's really nice, wow. AMD. That's really great. Yeah. That's not something something Intel would ever do, because they're an evil corporation. Turns out AMD's somewhat decent. I don't know, but more likely they did it because they wanted to catch up to Intel, right?
That's the thing. Everything's profit driven.
Yeah,
they had to play catch up, and being the nice guy was the way to catch up
for once.
Yeah.
Right.
For once.
It's when you get into, like Peter said in the chat, it's becomes a more of a interesting and hard to answer question when you talk about like smartphones and laptops, because there is some argument to be had that by tightening things down and making it harder to repair, they're able to make their hardware slimmer, more efficient in some ways. Now, it's obviously not always the case, and it's definitely not the reason why they've done it, right? It is maybe a reason, but the biggest reason, it's like taking the phone charger out of the box. Apple made this big deal when they took the phone charger out of the box, like, oh, we're environmentalists, we're saving trees. No, you did that so you don't have to give people a charger, and you could charge them $40 for it at the store. That's the reason why you did it, right? Like, sure, it had this other benefit, like you're going to have fewer chargers out there. That could be, environmentally impactful, but for the most part, you did it because you wanted to line your pockets. That's the thing, right? And then all the other companies made fun of them for doing it, and then they decided, hey, that's a good idea. We're going to do it too. Yep. We no longer have to include a charger in the box, because, we can make the boxes smaller, therefore cheaper, and we can sell it as like the less cardboard, so better for the environment, also better for our wallets. The same thing, happens with the right to repair stuff, or with the with all their hardware, right? They want you to have to buy a new iPhone. They don't want you to have to. They don't want you to be able to say, "Hey, you want a battery is $150, and I can pay $150, get a new battery in this, and you use my phone for another 2 or 3 years." That's not good for Apple. They want you to buy a new iPhone. Same thing with every Android manufacturer, right? That's the reason why batteries are no longer replaceable.
Well, but see, like the thing is like I think it's very odd the way that some companies are trying to do it. Like the whole idea that, hold on, let me grab my phone. The whole idea that this cell phone here cannot, like because it's so thin and slim and whatever, there's no way to repair the battery or like replace the battery in this. That's stupid as shit. Like, obviously, you put the battery in here. Yeah, it might be more complicated. I might have to pop the back off. I might have to go in here, take out a few screws. Shit, might have to just desolder something and like desolder the battery and then resolder it back in. But it's still repairable. Like, it's still replaceable. It's not as simple as just pop the back off and just take it out. Like, the weird thing is that like now it seems like nowadays there's an active push by companies to convince you that just because making something slimmer makes it a little bit more of a hassle to repair it, it's impossible. Like it can't be done. Like, which if anybody's ever seen some of the lobbyists that Apple, GE, there's a whole bunch of different corporations that have lobbied in the US and abroad for against right to repair, that is a big thing that they try to tell and convince lawmakers and just the general public that not only is sometimes doing what I'm talking about here, taking apart this thing, desoldering it, they would like to convince people that it's not necessarily impossible, but it's close to it, and it's also very dangerous. Like, very dangerous, which is the dumbest argument ever. If you can build the phone, I can safely repair it. Same thing with my refrigerator. If I want to repair my refrigerator, I can. And it's the same as with any, like the argument of, well, it might be dangerous. You could hurt yourself. You can get electrocuted plugging a freaking like a plug into the socket in the wall. Like you can get hurt doing anything. The idea that you're going to save me from myself is it's such a bad angle. And companies are just, I don't know, like the whole push for convincing people that it's dangerous to repair your stuff, or because things get slimmer, more compact and stuff, it becomes almost impossible to repair it. And so we need to make laws that stop people from, it's such an insane argument. Like it makes no sense.
Right. First, Dylan, thanks for the super chat. You didn't actually put a chat in there, so I assume you don't want to make any comments, but thank you for that. I will say this, is that there is, like Peter said in the comment, in the chat, the idea of like water resistance and stuff like that, that probably is a good, probably a good reason for it to be sealed. But even if you seal it, like let's just say we have the things that we have right now, they're sealed boxes or whatever, and you make it hard so that you can keep water out of there. I can understand that, but that doesn't mean you have to do anti-consumer things like using 25 different custom screws that you can't use like an actual screwdriver for. You have to buy like a $40 screwdriver in order to actually use. That's what Apple does, right? And it's not just Apple, like a lot of companies do this as well. So I don't want to just pick on Apple, but the thing is like, it's not just that it's sealed. It's also that it's, hard when if you manage to get into it without breaking the back or whatever, and you want to replace the battery or whatever, you can't just do that, because you have to have special tools, you have to have the right parts. And Apple has gone so far as basically put DRM on their batteries So if you got in there and put a battery in there, it would keep popping up on your phone that says, hey, this is not an original battery. Like, okay, there is an argument to be made that, you know, buying a secondhand battery from China is not a good thing. Things might explode. Batteries tend to do that. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't have, I mean, you're denying an entire market of people of companies who could make batteries legitimately for your devices.
And also the argument of we're going to do this for your safety is like, because Peter said battery in these things is so tightly fit that it's really dangerous to fiddle with it. I'm sorry, I buy plenty of LiFePo batteries, like for, you know, like drones and shit. If I short circuit it, guess what? It's pretty dangerous, but that doesn't stop me from buying them and using it like that.
And they have a certification process already for accessories and stuff. Why can't there be a certification process for the batteries? You know, made for iPhone. You know, this thing has been certified by Apple to work. You know.
Well, and therefore, also, no matter what, when you're repairing stuff, it's pretty much in every single company's warranty that if you don't have it repaired by them, or, you know, like a subsidiary of theirs that, you know, that they approve of, then you're breaking the warranty on it. So the argument from the company, the manufacturer standpoint of, well, we do it to protect our people, or we do it so because it can be dangerous, or we do it because, you know, you might break the water seal and then we would have to, you know, like pay for it, or you support the warranty. That's complete bullshit. Like if I repair my phone, like this phone, and I break the water seal inside of it, I'm already on my own because I repaired it. Like, right. That's pretty much how warranties work. I don't know if, like, maybe some dipshits haven't been around for forever, but like if you open up most shit, there's like a little sticker that says warranty void if removed. Like, hello? Have none of y'all ever repaired stuff? Like, that's pretty normal. It's always been a thing.
So Swam, I'm going to mispronounce your name, Swam. Thanks for the super chat. They said, right to repair isn't about ease of repair, but just the right. Apple saying only that they can repair your device and no one else means they still have control over your device and you don't own it. Yeah, and that's basically what they're saying, is that they have, because this isn't even just about like my right to repair or your right to repair. It's more about, like, even on a broader scale, the ability to have a business, like, say you know what the hell you're doing. Like, for the most part, you and I are idiots. And we probably don't know exactly what you know. I have no clue how to create like a solder. I don't know how to solder anything. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. But there are people who know how to do this. The very smart people who are very technical, right? And they might want to create a business where they fix iPhones. You know, Apple says that's not okay. You know, that's not unusual. A lot of companies say that, but they've made it prohibitively impossible, basically, to have businesses like that and be like able to charge a reasonable amount for it. Because if you have to repair iPhones, people do that. There's businesses out there that do that. Mm-hmm. They charge a lot of money because it's really freaking hard to take it apart and fix it, you know? And it's also impossible to get legitimate parts from Apple, you know, that are actual parts for the iPhone. Everything else has to be like third party or has to be refurbished. So
for anybody who doesn't know just how difficult it can be to get Apple like repair products, just go watch a little bit of Louis Rossman. Just spend a little bit of time on his channel. Like, you'll find out just how actively Apple like works to make it super difficult to repair their products, which is ironic as hell. Like, that's just super funny.
We've been picking on Apple for a while, but the thing is that it's not just Apple. So if you've ever bought a Dell laptop before and you've had to replace a part on a Dell laptop, it is damn near impossible to get a new part. You have to get it from Dell, and they're not going to sell it to you. Like, they want to do the repair themselves. It doesn't mean it's impossible to repair. Taking apart a Dell laptop is actually really easy, and there's guides and stuff online. Like, iFixit does guides on Dell laptops and like whatever. The only place on the internet really that does Dell Parts is called like Parts People, and all they sell are refurbished parts. It's like you can only get used parts for these things. Like pretty much Dell is all, like my mom only uses Dell computers. She had a really good experience with her first Dell computer, and since that point, that's all she's bought. So every time something, I mean, she uses the crap out of her computer, so the hinges go like bad almost instantaneously on her computers. Also, the DC jack on the internal things, like it gets blown out, so you have to replace it all the time. Yeah, so I can't get those parts brand new. I always have to buy them refurbished, and they like. God bless people who refurbish stuff, but I'm sorry, that shit doesn't last very long. Okay, when it comes to that stuff that's really high friction, metal against metal stuff, it's I'm glad that I can actually get something, but you know, it's still there's a reason why I have to replace it every 3 months. You know, and really what they want done is you to have to either buy a new computer when something like that goes bad, or sign up for one of their, you know, Apple Care Plus or Dell Care Plus or whatever the hell they call it, where you have to pay, you know, every year to have them give you service. It's basically insurance that you hopefully will never need, but you're going to need it.
And by the way, just so everyone understands, when you pay for those services like that, you're still going to pay every time that you need a repair. Like just because you're paying yearly for that doesn't mean you get a completely free repair. Let's make that clear. You don't. You just get a hopefully cheaper repair, which you've been paying throughout the year to get the right.
It's like mobile phone insurance. Like that mobile phone insurance doesn't mean that when you break your phone, you get a new phone. No, it just means that you get to pay a deductible. That means you don't have to pay for the full price of the phone. Usually it's like $50 or $75. And, you know, still better than buying a new phone, but it's still, you've paid $5 a month for that insurance. And, you know, if you just put that $5 up every month, you know, and then at the end of when you needed a new phone, you'd probably have bought the price of a new phone, you know, after a while. Also, put your fucking phone in a case, okay? I understand they're pretty without the case and they feel nice, you know, the great devices.
Yeah, but it's a massive investment, like especially if you've got a newer phone. Like they're not just cheap.
This was 2007 when the iPhone first came out. The price of the iPhone was like $699 or something like that, and people just blew up because they thought it was way too expensive for a phone. So Apple actually did something that Apple never does. They lowered the price by $100. So it was $599 or something like that. Nowadays, everybody looks like, oh, look, this is the Galaxy Fold 3. It's $1,800.
I'm not kidding. For the price of the Galaxy Fold 3 or whatever that BS is, that is the retail price of that is exactly the same amount of money that I spent on my first car. Like exactly the same amount.
My first car, I paid $200 for it.
Wow.
It didn't run, but it was a 1979 Delta 88, and that thing was the definition of a rust bucket. And the engine was fine actually, but we needed to rebuild the transmission, and there had holes in the floor, so we had to pull out the floor pan and put the floor in. It was my first project. It was like before I had we bought it like a year before I got my license, and my dad and I fixed it up. I don't know shit about cars, so I wasn't much of help. He mostly fixed it up. I sat there and, you know, hey, I need a 9/16 French. Go get that. You know, that's basically what I did. Yeah. But the obviously total tangent there, but it's a good story. Anyways, I mean,
we're talking about repairing a car, which like nowadays, like if you apply it to most things, it's getting the right to repair your shit just across the board is starting to disappear.
Yeah.
Cars have started to get to the point where they're pretty much just like fucking phones. There's so much different circuitry in there. It's all packed so tight together.
And it's proprietary tooling, proprietary tools, parts, everything. like you used to be able to, like, you used to be able to go to like a Best Buy or whatever and buy a aftermarket like CD player or radio or whatever. You can still do that, but it looks like garbage because you have to get these stupid kits. They don't really fit all that well, but it used to be you could fit one, and because for the most part the radios and stuff inside of cars were all basically the same size, you know, and so you could put whatever you wanted in there. Now you kind of can't do that because they're all different sizes and they all have these stupid screens and computers and stuff. So they've had to, I mean, they still have the aftermarket stuff, but it's not as easy. Like now you almost have to have Best Buy install it for you because, you know, they have the tools and the software and stuff that needs to be done. You can't do it yourself anymore because you can't, like, it's not even a new problem really, because I remember when we had I don't remember what car it was. All I remember was we need to replace it was a Bronco, actually. It was like one of the last Broncos, because they discontinued the Broncos because of O.J. Simpson. But I was going to blame it on him. The point is that in order to get that radio out, you had to have a proprietary tool. It looked like a little U, like with like I don't even know, but you had to put it in the side so it would pop it out. And like the tool cost like $60. Like it was a little piece of metal. It was so stupid. And so that's not a new problem, but still, yeah, it's literally everything. Like every single thing. And I mean, we've kind of ignored it, but it's not even just about, you know, like rights and your ability to save money and stuff. It's also e-waste is like a huge deal, right? It's like a big deal. And you don't. Like this stuff you don't want this stuff to go into a landfill. You don't want your car to sit out in, in a junkyard. You know, that's not good for the environment. Like, don't want to be a tree hugger here, but we only got one Earth. We don't want to fuck it up. If it's not too late, we already done it anyways, you know. But
I mean, we're doing a good job of it, but I don't think it's too late yet.
I mean. But there's so many different aspects of this question, right? So I think both of us agree we have the right to repair stuff, we should have the right to repair stuff, but we don't for the most part.
Or even if we do, there's an active effort to make it disappear. Like that's just it's happening.
Well, it's not all about this, but it's mostly about planned obsolescence, where they want you to buy new whatever it is and not be able to repair it. The thing is that you know that this is happening because when you buy a new phone, what's the one thing that they always tell you? Hey, do you have another phone? Trade it in. We could give you $300 or $400 for your new phone. That's because they can then send it back to Apple, who has all of the parts they need to repair this shit, and they can refurbish it and then sell it for $800 or $900. You know, don't know why I went all New York there again, but somebody in the chat said it's all about money. You know, no, I don't know. We can't be surprised about this, right? Like this is not a surprise. Yeah. It's capitalism at its finest.
As a business that chases profit, there's not a lot of profit in selling you something that works for 20 years.
Right.
Like, there's just not.
Not anymore. There's a reason. Okay, so you probably don't even remember this, but this is old man Matt gonna get on his stool for a minute. There used to be a Sears brand called Ken's. I've forgotten the name. Kensworth, something like that. And also Craftsman. Like Craftsman is the one I'm thinking of. Like they made tools, right? They're like screwdrivers and stuff, right? I think it's probably even still around. But their
Craftsman is definitely still around.
Their whole shtick was that it would last forever. Like literally, they gave like lifetime warranties on that shit. Granted, I'm sure it's not going to be you know honored now because Sears gone the way of Montgomery Ward. But you know. That was the whole thing. You buy this tool, this screwdriver, it will last forever. Nowadays, it's made of plastic and it's going to last you one turn. You know.
Yeah, now Craftsman is literally synonymous for cheap shit tool.
Yeah,
like that's pretty much Craftsman nowadays.
And that's not the way it used to be. It was used to be like, this thing will last forever. It was literally their whole thing. And same thing with like, there was a lot, I mean, we don't remember back in the day, they don't make them like they used to anymore. You know, we're like old men, but it's really freaking true, because they want to make stuff as replaceable as possible. Like they want you to have to be able to, they want you to have to replace it, not repair it. Or they don't want it to last for ages and ages and stuff, because how are they going to make more and more money?
I mean, it's hard to sell you shit when everything that you have works.
Yeah.
It's the sad part is like, it's weird because pretty much companies en masse are acting like shitty pay to win games, like phone games nowadays. Like if you've ever like watched a lot or gotten into like the mechanics of pay to win mobile games, a lot of the times their strategy is create problem, sell you solution. And typically to create the problem is some stupid, weird, like just annoying bullshit that in an otherwise good game you have to deal with. And then they sell you the solution. And that's just how companies are now en masse. Companies are not, it's, people have this weird view of companies where, okay, companies, their goal is to make the best product possible. If you believe that, I'm sorry, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. The furthest thing. The most important thing is making money, and having a half decent product is kind of necessary for making money. That's it. Like making a good product is not the focus. It's getting the money out of the product. That's it.
Where this all comes down to is that it's much easier for them to make a half decent product that is not repairable and that you have to replace, and then come up with another product that is basically exactly the same, that you might have one or two features that are really easy for them to come up with, you know, basically no innovation. And you just keep on that product cycle where your stuff kind of gets marginally better each generation. It's much easier for them to be on this thing that they're doing now than every 2 or 3 years come up with a product that is fantastic and has all these innovations and is an amazing product, right? There's a reason why if you buy an iPhone these days, it basically looks like there's exactly the same iPhone you could have bought 4 or 5 years ago. The edges are a little square now, but I mean, all they did,
for the most part, it's the same thing. Taking risk as a company and doing something innovative, it comes with risk, and companies don't like that.
Yeah, and it's not part of the model. Like the model is just, you know, create something that's just marginally better, that costs more, that, you know, people want. Like people loved the iPhone 4, right, design, right, because it was, you know, slim and sleek and sexy and stuff like that, and they stick with that design through like the iPhone 5s. Yeah, they stretched it out a little bit and made it thinner, but basically they made it was a boxy iPhone. Then they did the rounded iPhone for many generations because that was the new thing. The new iPhones look exactly like the iPhone 5 did, basically, for the most part. It's the exact same design. Excuse me. There's no innovation there really, and there's no benefit for them to innovate on the design of the iPhone. It's the reason why most phones, they all look like this. You know, they look like a slab of glass. That's what they look like. It's the reason why. It's also the reason why Samsung can get away with $1,800 for a foldable phone, because it looks unique. It obviously is something that they've, you know, innovated on. They have literal folding glass, which I don't even begin to understand. How is it possible? It's obviously not all that good, because you hear all these reports about how, you know, it breaks after so long, whatever. But the point is that Samsung has obviously innovated in terms of making that, you know, possible. That's the reason why it's $1,800. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's also something people don't understand. Like, sure, Samsung is doing some interesting things with all of this, but as a company, it's not really, if you want to be the most strategic, like if winning the capitalistic game is like your company's goal, like, you know, like we want to make the most amount of profit possible. Samsung has spent a shitload in research and development on making those foldable phones. Let me ask you something personally, Matt. How many people do you know with a Samsung Fold?
No one.
Same. I have people that want, like, I know people that want it, but I know no one that actually has it in their hands and that's what they use.
I know not
That's the
one
thing.
person who would ever like spend $1,800 on a phone. Like they would literally go without a phone first before they'd ever spend that amount of money. Now, see, I'm the same way about $1,000 phone. Like, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a phone. I spent $600 on this phone, and that was way freaking too much. And this was a used, refurbished phone, by the way. You know, I don't understand the cost of. I mean, we get into the cost of phones all we want. It's just way too expensive. Like, if a computer, like an actual motherfucking computer with a keyboard and a trackpad and the ability to run Linux and Windows and Mac or whatever you want it to do costs $799 but your phone costs $900. No, that's not you. Like, I understand that at one point the research and development to get this stuff down to this size was a big deal. Like, in order to get the processor and all the batteries and all this stuff, to get it to miniaturize it to this size, the research and development, it would have been big. But we've done that. Yeah. Like, that was 15 years ago.
Now.
Like
exactly.
They did that with the iPhone. That was the research and development. You're not still paying those people off. Okay, those loans have been paid. Yet the prices keep going up and they keep calling it research and development. No, you can't keep creating phones that look exactly the same year after year, for the most part. Bricks of glass, you know, and keep charging me more money for them and expect me to say, oh, those features are really good. I need to have those features. Like, when I was younger, yes. Like, that's the whole point, is when you're like really young, like you're a teenager or whatever, the new iPhone is sexy as hell, man. Like, look at those colors, like fantastic colors, and ooh, it's a new design and a smaller notch, and mom, can I have one? You know? God, I sound like I'm a 90-year-old man, but once you get out there and you actually earn your money, you know, it's a lot harder to justify $1,000 phone. And that's the reason why the carriers or whatever will say, well, it's not $1,000 phone, it's just $16 a month.
Exactly.
That doesn't sound...
Exactly.
I can afford $16 a month. That's just a couple Starbucks coffees. You know what I mean? It'll be perfectly fine. But you don't realize it's like those pay-to-own deals where, yeah, technically you're only paying $16 a month, but really what you're doing is you're paying $2,000 for a $1,000 phone. You know, it's a payday loan scam.
It's funny when you said about desktop, like, to phone prices. You made me think about it. My phone does cost legitimately more than my setup does. Like, if I'm talking about just this computer, like, I don't include the 6600 XT, which isn't even in this computer anyway. But like, my computer that I'm using right now costs like probably a few $100s less than my phone did.
So not only do they say, hey, pay $1,000 for this technology, but also you have to pay us $60 a month in order to use it. The primary functionality of a phone is to make phone calls and send text messages, and in order to use that primary functionality, you have to pay us money after also buying the device. Like, whoever came up with that model that guy's brilliant, right?
Yep.
Obviously, that guy's a billionaire, and that's the reason why he's a billionaire, and I'm a schmuck. You know, So I mean, kudos to that guy who came up with that thing, but man, he's also a crook. Like, that's Bernie Madoff level, like, stealing my money. You know, because it's just like, holy shit, like. Can you imagine? And I'm sure there's probably someone out there who thought that this was a good idea. You go to the car dealership and you spend $40,000 for a new car, but you can't drive it unless you also pay them $80 a month to whatever, use the radio and use the steering wheel and the wheels. None of those things work unless you pay them money. I mean, that's basically what this is, because this thing here, I mean,
we will get there. One day we will get there. Like the ability to use your windshield wipers will be like a feature add-on. Like that it'll be like DLC for your car.
We have got there. Like Tesla does this shit. Like you can buy a Tesla and it will go a certain speed, but you can buy DLC for your Tesla to make it go faster.
Yeah.
Like I think it's called like Mach speed or ludicrous speed or something like that. Like they stole it from Spaceballs. Mel Brooks should shoot Elon Musk. I'm just gonna put that out there. But the thing is like we're there. Like that they're actually doing that. Like in order to get these extra features, like you have to pay us more money that it's never mind that this was a $70,000 vehicle, more than most people in their 50s paid for their freaking houses,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm pretty sure my mom and dad spent $4,000 on their first house. Like you can't even buy a brick for $4,000 these days.
Hell no. Shit. Phones will be at that price here soon. Like
it's just like I was on about the research and development thing, but like you can't. How is it that the computers that have been around that we use every day, like that we're using right now, have gotten continuously cheaper? Like for the most part, outside of the whole, pandemic and supply chain stuff that's been going on, right? For the most part, computers have gotten progressively cheaper over the last 20 years. Now, obviously, you can still spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a computer, but if you spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a computer, you're getting a top of the line fucking computer that's going to last you for a long time. It has all the specs that you'll want. It has the best processor, the best graphics card. Again, probably before the pandemic, it's probably more expensive now. The point is, but the same thing isn't with phones. And they keep expecting these phones that they keep coming out with to have us act like this is new technology. Like this is technology that they're just researching and developing right now, and that's the reason why they think that they can charge us this amount of money.
Or I think the thing is think the idea that a lot of companies are trying to sell you on is that this is your business device. Like this thing here, like it's meant to like make you money. It's meant to operate your business and everything.
It's meant to be your computer.
Exactly. And for me, I'm sure that for some people that works, but I don't know. Like in my opinion, phones are for like just talking with family, arranging things with like scheduling things with friends, meeting up with friends, and then like, I don't know, porn and dick pics. Like isn't that really what phones are for?
I was going to say mobile games, but apparently you and your Netflix in the shower,
Hey. Oh, speaking of which, speaking of like Netflix in the shower, I'm getting very close to finishing Peaky Blinders. I think I'm on the last season. I'm pretty sure I am. Okay. It's such a good show. Sorry for the tangent. But
I don't know what that is because I don't subscribe to Netflix. It's called The Pirate Bay, bro. I'm just going to put that out there.
Hey. You got to keep that on the DL, man. You can't just be telling everybody. All right?
You're on YouTube. You're so getting demonetized. All right.
You got anything else you want to talk about with right to repair?
I think we could go on and bitch about how expensive stuff and why this has made things more expensive for a long time. It's just one of those things where we could talk ourselves in circles, and it's just, okay, before we move on, let's just talk about the solution, okay, and possible solutions. So there are companies out there. We're looking at like Fairphone, and we're talking about the Framework laptop that have made devices that are meant to be repaired, that have modular pieces and stuff like that. Google even tried this, right? Like they tried with Project whatever the hell it was called, but in typical Google fashion, they canceled it. So there are companies out there that have done this, but the thing is, nobody buys them. Like nobody buys them. Like the Fairphone or whatever hell it's called, the modular phone. It's not even as if it's more expensive than any other phone. It's actually, I think, cheaper than a lot of other phones, but nobody wants it because it's not as sleek and slim as the iPhone. It doesn't have the most recent stuff like the iPhone and the Android phones have. So that's, I think, the thing that last thing we should talk about is that when companies have tried to make to repair a thing like a marketable thing for their product, when they've tried to do this, nobody's cared. Like the vast majority of people don't care.
It's not that nobody cared. It's the companies that are doing it drop the ball on the most important part of the device. And this is, if we take the Libra phone, the Pine phone, the Fairphone, every single open implementation of a phone, they make really good decisions on the hardware where like kill switches for different things. The hardware is it's very open. Like they make good decisions hardware wise and build quality with the phones. Like they choose screens that aren't the best, most incredible screens out there, highest resolution, but they pick a resolution that, I don't know, makes sense for a 7-inch screen, right? Or around 7-inch screen.
I don't need a 4K 7-inch screen. I'm sorry.
Exactly, and that's going to help battery life a shitload. But they all drop the ball on the most critical part of a phone, which is the processor. I'm sorry, but if you make all the rest of the I don't care how much of the rest of the hardware is good, when the actual main processor that needs to run everything is slow as shit, piss off. Like I can't use you. Like on a daily basis, I can't. I'm not going to click, and I don't want to go back to the days of clicking and then just being on dial-up speeds and waiting and watching for a website to finish rendering.
That's a good point. There's also another thing is that they make these modular things that you're supposed to be able to say you can swap out the camera, you can swap out the battery, you can swap out the stuff, but those parts hardly ever materialize. One of the things, there's no longevity because they're all really small companies. There's no company out there that at least has so far been able to last long enough to make those things worthwhile. So and the thing is that we've been taught that kind of thing doesn't last. So for example, not too long ago, a few years ago, Dell came out with an Alienware laptop that had things that you could, modules that you were supposed to be able to in the future be able to plug into this to make it upgradable, things like the CPU and the GPU and stuff, be able to plug into it. They never followed through with it. There was never something else that came out with a second one where you could actually take the things from the second one and buy those parts and put it in the first one. It never happened. And that kind of thing has happened over and over and over again, where companies will have this idea where they'll try to make things upgradable or whatever and say, hey, we'll sell you parts. Like Intel has done this with one of their NUCs before. They have these compute units or whatever, and they did it for one generation and then it never happened again, and when the big companies do this, they teach consumers to expect that kind of behavior, and it even happen, and it happens with the small companies even more frequently but less maliciously. The big companies do it because it doesn't make them money. The smaller companies do it because they go out of fucking business, Yep. So when you create something like the Fairphone or the Pine phone or whatever, it's really hard to have that trust in the consumer market that you're going to be around in 10 years for me to be able to buy the parts that are going to make this something that are going to last that long. I've looked at the Pine stuff before, the Pinebook Pro and the Pine phone stuff like that. I've looked at that stuff, and first of all, I don't understand how you can sell a laptop for $200. I don't understand that there's some kind of black magic going on there. And I also think there is something to you get what you pay for. So I'm and they always have this warning right at the checkout, oh, there might be dead pixels on your screen, and it's perfectly normal. It's not perfectly normal. That means your display is broken. That's not the way. But I mean, it's $200. So but it's new. But I don't. It's always one of those things that have confused me. It's one of those things that also is going to scare the crap out of regular users, they're going to see this like, you're going to sell me something for $200 and tell me right away that it's possible I could get it broken, and that's quote unquote normal. That's not the way the market works. When you buy something and it's broken, you take it back and get a new one. That's not normal. It's that's one of those things, right? So I don't know. It just feels like whenever somebody tries this, and companies are trying it right now, it just, it doesn't work for various reasons, whether it's because of there's no trust in them, or because they didn't do a very good job in the first place, or any number of reasons. It just feels like, because I think you're right that I was wrong. That it's not that nobody cares. It's just that we've learned over a period of, years, that when this kind of stuff comes along, it's not something that you can trust for a long period of time. All right. Wow. That topic actually got me fired up. Like, I'm fired up about that.
We haven't had a main topic that we dived in like that in a while.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I really probably should get myself like a lazy boy recliner and start making videos about this. First of all, the idea of being able to do a YouTube video from your lazy boy recliner is, Louis Rossman, brilliant, man. Just pure, really brilliant. You can just sit there with your laptop on your lap or your keyboard on your lap and a mouse on the cushion and just sit there and make a video. You don't have to be in one of these freaking uncomfortable office chairs for hours on end editing shit. And hell no, I need to get myself a lazy boy.
That's how you do it.
Never leave this chair again. Anyways, that is it for the main topic. Let's go ahead and move on to the thingy of the week. Now, for those of you who have never watched a Linux cast before, you will know that this last section here is creatively titled because we couldn't come up with anything else. So we call it the thingy of the week. And this thingy can be literally anything. It can be a tip, trick, pick, app, whatever. So Tyler, your thingy of the week.
Mine would be the fantastic top. I have been just using top instead of htop here very recently, and like htop is really like nice looking, but I've found, especially on my OpenBSD system, htop is not as the way it shows you memory is a little, I wouldn't say disingenuous, but it's different. Like the way that you show like is it virtual memory? No, what am I trying to say? Like the cached and accessed memory or whatever. Every program that's doing system monitoring can show you memory in a slightly different way. That's kind of like why you check in htop, but then you run neofetch, and they're like the memory values are slightly off, and you're like, what? Like, how, what, which one's right? Like, they're both technically right. It's just one might not be showing you cached RAM or, whatever. But I've just been using top here recently, and it's fine. And it's, just the built-in, don't have to pull anything extra down. It's just there. There's no thrills. It does not look great. It does not look nearly as good as htop or bashtop or whatever. But it functions just fine. Functions just the same way that you kind of expect it to. Yeah. So I like it. I'm going back to the basics, more minimalist.
I'm surprised you haven't written a script that just sends you a dunce notification with your memory every like 5 minutes or something.
Oh, well, I do now have a bash script that's set up where it will shoot me a notification when my temperature reaches a certain level. So like it checks I think it checks like every 30 seconds. Or no, I may have set it up every minute. Like I think that's what I set it up to. Every minute it checks to see like what the temperature is, and if it's above 70 degrees Celsius, it shoots me a notification, which is nice because now I definitely won't have any problems overheating. I should shoot that script up to my GitLab just in case some other idiot out there like myself who likes to run their shit hot and not notice that the fan's not speeding up when you're putting it under load. Well, it'll help you out.
At least your computer's not in a cardboard box anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Didn't even think about that. That would have been bad.
Yeah. So my pick of or my thingy of the week this week is Firefox actually, and I know what you're thinking, Matt. It's Firefox. Everybody uses Firefox. Well, I mean, not everybody, but everybody should use Firefox. But the point is, Firefox came up with a version 99, and buried in the about config thing, you can enable something called overlay GTK scroll bars or GTK overlay scroll bars. Not sure the order. The point is that I made a video about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, about how scroll bars on Linux and specifically browsers kind of suck because they're inconsistent, they're ugly, they don't go away, it's horrible. But this new thing with the Firefox with the GTK overlay for scroll bars, they're so good. Oh man, they're so good. Now, functionality wise, they work like freaking scroll bars. But the point is that when you're not using the scroll bars, they go away. Like the scroll bars just not there anymore. And when you are using them, there's just a little sliver, like a little thing. Like when you're scrolling up and down, you'll see a position, like on your phone. Like on your phone, you know, when you're scrolling up and down, the scroll bar will show up, but it's just like a little sliver along the side. That's what this is now. Like it's just a little sliver. And if you hover over it, it gets bigger so you can drag it up and down. But if you move your mouse away from it, it just goes back to a little one. And when you stop scrolling, it goes away. Completely gone. And it works so well. It works even on websites that use their own like scroll bars that usually look like they're from Windows 98. It has replaced those scroll bars and made them like this. It is so good. And it has made it so that I have no interest whatsoever in switching away from Firefox again. So, God, it's so good. Like I know I'm a nerd. Okay, I just spent 5 minutes talking about scroll bars. Okay, I bet you no other Linux YouTuber has ever done that before. It's so good. Anyways, I seriously. You can wait until Firefox 100. They'll be enabled by default. But if you want them now, you can go into about.config and search for GTK overlay scroll bar, and it should come up and just turn that to true, and they'll show up. You won't even have to restart Firefox. They'll just be there. So good.
Up here using Qt browser.
Like never again. Okay. Like I need to. I'm sorry, but the ad blocking in Qt browser is just. It's bad.
It's piss poor. Speaking of the ad blocking, your article, like when I was reading over it, man, like there was so many ads. Like I got a video, I got a banner ad, I got the other banner ad like at the bottom of the screen that gets big. Then it had like ads over here. Like, there was ads pop up all over the place. I was like, holy crap.
At least on like the desktop or whatever, there's room for those ads. Like you can, it was like designed for it. When you're on your phone and you go to one of the, like this morning, I was looking for a weather app for my Android. And turns out there's not a lot of good weather apps for the Android. But the point is I was looking for the best ones. So I searched, as you do, on Google for best weather app for Android. And it takes you to like Android Central or whatever. Like Android Central is like a legitimate blog. They make a lot of money. They're very popular. But you get on their mobile website, they have an auto-playing video that you can't scroll past. It floats with you. They have a ad at the bottom. They have ads inside the text that, you know, kind of like have the parallax effect. And then when you go to navigate away, they have a pop-up. Like you can't read the content because they have so many ads. Like, I understand. As someone who makes money through advertisements on the internet, like I completely understand that, you know, you have to use ads to make money. It doesn't mean it has to be a horrible experience, does it?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Some
website designers don't understand that.
Like there has got to be a way to have advertisements on your website that doesn't mean that you can't actually get to the content, but also that doesn't mean like it's like The Verge, for example. I like The Verge. I always listen to their podcast or whatever. I think a lot of times they're a little bit elite, but whatever. I like their stuff. But their website, if you have ads enabled, it makes that website load like you're on dial-up. Like it loads so slowly. And like I want to support you guys. Like I would add you to my whitelist, you know, in my ad blocker. if I could get to your content like normally, you know, but you can't.
That's the funny thing. I don't even consider using ad block until I go to the sites and places that can't use ads like a reasonable, decent person. Like if you're designing a website or going to put ads on a website, as long as the ads do not interfere with the content, I don't care. I don't, because I know that's kind of like that's kind of like my like cover fee for going into a place. You know, like bars have like a surcharge or like a cover charge. Like, you know, you'll pay $5 to go in at the door, and then you can do whatever you want and you know, just have a good time. And to me, like ads on websites are just like that. They're that cover charge. But I'm sorry, but when the cover charge is like $30 and like a slap to the face, like, no, obviously, no, I won't. Like,
and just to kind of make the whole podcast go full circle, when you get a beer, it's actually a can of beer that somebody's peed in. You know, that's basically what the advertisements are now, right? We just come completely full circle. If you haven't watched the beginning, we were just talking about that in the pre-show. So, speaking of the pre-show, let's just move past this, because we could sit here and bitch about ads like the entire, like for the next 2 hours, and we've already been going for a long freaking time. But anyways, the point is that if you want to watch the podcast live, we record this live every Thursday around 3 o'clock Eastern, around 3 p.m. Eastern time. I can't talk. And we do that on youtube.com/LinuxCast. So make sure you subscribe there if you want to watch live. You'll also get a whole bunch of other content, which is varying levels of good. So you can do that there. The way the podcast works now in video form is that the live stream is the podcast for YouTube. So if you want to watch the video version of the podcast, the live stream is what you're going to get. That means you're also going to get to see the pre-show, which we talked about just a minute ago, where you'll get to see the 15 or 20 minutes where Tyler and I just bullshit. This time we talked about politics, so that's probably going to scare about 90% of the people who are going to watch this video away.
Exactly.
But whatever.
I will go ahead and say, if you watch back the pre-show, it's not like we just lightly talk about the realm of politics. It's not like we dived in deep.
We don't even take position. We're really,
Exactly.
really what we did is we complained about how bad politics actually are. But the point is that I'm not expecting very many people to watch this podcast past that point, because they're gonna say, "Oh my God, I'm not gonna listen to this. I don't come here for politics." But anyways, it doesn't matter. 3 p.m. Eastern time on the LinuxCast YouTube channel. You can watch us live. Otherwise, if you want to catch it afterwards, you can do so either in the video form or in audio form, where you can find all that stuff at the linuxcast.org. Before I go, I should take a moment to thank my current patrons. You can support us at patreon.com/linuxcast. Thanks to Robert, Syd, Devon, Patrick, this is really slow, Fred, Kramer, Maeglin, Jackson Tool, Styd A, CyberGuyLinux, Garrick, Samuel, KB, TGB, Mitchel, JDawg, carnondated, Jeremy, Shaun, Odin, Marnie, Andy, Ross, Eduardo, Marek, Camp, Joshua Lee, Peter A, Crucible, Dark Man 6, Primus, and PM. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.
I'm jealous. Would not